Hey everybody, it's Mr. Shore. I've got a lesson for you today, and that lesson is on point of view. Now, point of view is the perspective or vantage point from which a story is told. A story is told through a narrator, and point of view is the narrator's position in relation to the story. So basically, who's telling the story that you're reading, that you're listening to, or that you're watching? Now, there are three types of point of view. We have first person, we have second person, and we have third person. The best way to be able to tell which point of view it is by looking at the pronouns that are used in the narration. Now, I want to emphasize you are looking at the pronouns in the narration. Anything inside a quote should be not considered. If someone is talking, they most likely will be talking in first person, and that's going to mess you up. So when you're looking to determine the point of view of a story, look at the narration. Look at the pronouns in the narration. First person is going to use I, we. Second person is you. Third person, he, she, it, they. Now, first person is when the narrator is the character in the story. The story is told by a character who uses the first person pronoun I. So if the main character or any character in the story is telling you the story, then that's first person. I will tell you my story. I went to school. I sat in my desk, took out my pencil, and began working. That would be first person. Second person is when the narrator is speaking to you, the reader, using the pronoun you. It's like breaking the fourth wall. You mostly will see this in instructions and pamphlets and advertisements. You won't typically see it in novels. You might see it in poetry, but it is pretty popular in instructions. All right, imagine you are doing something. I am talking to you. You should sit up straight and pay attention. Imagine you are going into the classroom and you sit down. Okay, we're talking to the reader, telling the reader to do something. Take the TV out of the box, put the batteries in. That's second person. Third person is when the narrator is not a character in the story and uses third person pronouns to refer to the characters. Now we're going to talk about two different kinds of third person. You have third person limited, and you have third person omniscient or as an observer. Third person limited relates the inner thoughts and feelings of one character. This is when we follow one character. The narrator only knows the thoughts and feelings of one character. It's limited to that character. It doesn't know anything else. Third person omniscient, or as an observer, omni, the prefix omni means all. So this is all knowing. It relates the inner thoughts and feelings of multiple characters. Third person limited, Mary was sad because she missed her mom. We only know the thoughts and feelings of Mary here. We know she's sad. We know she misses her mom. Third person omniscient or as an observer would be more along the lines of Mary was sad because she missed her mom. Her mom also felt sad and lonely. There we have how Mary feels and we have how mom feels. Because we know more than one person, that's omniscient or as an observer. So, some examples for you. What point of view is this example? Greg looked up at the bright lights in the operating room until they burned a white spot in his field of vision. He looked at the face of the surgeon and saw only a white blur. When he looked away, he could see the surgeon's masked face from his peripheries. He could hear him readying an array of metal instruments, many of which looked as though they might belong to a dentist. I hope he's not going to use those on me, Greg thought to himself with terror. The surgeon picked up one that looked like a bent-up question mark. So what point of view is this? Well, if you look at the pronouns, he looked at the face of the surgeon. He looked away. Greg thought to himself. We are getting the thoughts and feelings of Greg Do we have the thoughts and feelings of the surgeon? No, we don't. So this is going to be third person limited. It's limited to Greg's perspective. For this example, congratulations on purchasing the Tatakai Warriors Fighting for Peanut Butter computer game. Before you install this program, you'll need to make sure that you have at least 24 KB of free space on your installation target. Insert the CD-ROM disk into your drive. The disk should run automatically. Select Full Install from the installation menu. The program will begin installing on your target drive. This might take up to 24 hours. Once installation is complete, an alert box should appear. If you see a successful installation message, remove the disk from the drive and enjoy the venture. Now, first of all, 24 hours for setup for a CD game? Man, this must be an old passage. But anyway, what point of view is this passage in? Well, it's telling you how to install this computer game. Before you install the program, you will need to make sure that you have all that space. What point of view uses you? What point of view would be second person? What point of view is this? Do you want to take the shot, Vince? The coach asked me. I looked into his eyes. They were ice-cold blue. His face did not betray his feelings, but I knew that he meant it. I do, coach. I can make the shot, I replied. He nodded and then put his hand on top of my head. I don't know how long any of us will live, but we will all remember what happens next for as long as we do. He then slapped me on the back. The referee blew the whistle, and it was time to find out just how I would be remembered. So what pronouns are we using? Remember, if you look at this first one, you see the pronoun you. But you also know, do you want to take the shot, Vince? That's inside quotation marks. So we can't consider that for our point of view choices. So outside of the quotation mark, what pronouns do we see? I knew, I looked, I replied. I means that it is first person. Wow, look at his costume, said Annie. He's dressed up like an electric jellyfish. She observed the flashing lights with genuine admiration. Adriana looked at the costume and scoffed. Secretly, she envied the detail and craftsmanship that went into the jellyfish costume, but she would never let on to Annie. What kind of loser goes walking around like a Christmas tree? Adriana said. Annie did not agree, but did not want to be disagreeable. Yeah, what kind? The ladies walked by another house. Annie did not like this. It seemed like Adriana was more interested in criticizing others than in trick-or-treating. Annie adjusted the headband to her costume. Adriana was not wearing a costume. So if we think about this passage, the first character we have is Annie. She observed the lights with admiration. So we know what she's doing, and we also know how she feels, what she's thinking. Admiration is that thought. So this would tell us that it's third person. We have another character here, Adriana. Do we know what Adriana's thinking? We do. Secretly, which only we would know, she envied the detail. That's a thought, that's a feeling. So now that we have the thoughts and feelings of two people using the third person pronouns, we know that this is third person omniscient, and that's point of view. Feel free to contact me with any questions, comments, or concerns.